Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Concept of All Beings in the Self, and the Self in All Beings. Savhavata? Karma? I read it originally as casualty. And I looked at it as a causality. So I'm sure I made a fool of myself by pronouncing that. By all means, if it made you laugh, by all means laugh, because it kind of made me laugh too. But I'm trying. Savhavata. Oof, even if that is kind of the right way to pronounce it, the way it has that accent to it, it just makes it, I'm sure, ridiculous. Anyways, let's go ahead and give this video a shot. It's kind of along the lines of a lot of things that we've been going on through lately, and karma very much a lot. And before I guess we start the video, I've actually thought about Advaita Vedanta in terms of what I want to do with the members only channel, which I'll probably never ever start, but I keep thinking about it. Um, but I really did think about a couple of things in terms of being enlightened and whether that is the way or not. I say that as a teaser. um, and does that really matter? Anyways, let's go ahead and watch this video. Make sure everything's right.
The first question comes from Arnab K. from Toronto. And he has a question regarding the concept of the self in all beings and all beings in the self that you discussed recently in your talk on Ashtavakra Gita. He says, I understand how all beings are in the self, that this entire universe, including all beings, is just an appearance in the self. I also get how the self is in all beings from the perspective of Sat. However, I struggle to understand how the self is in all beings from a Chit perspective. I don't understand how there is one consciousness shining in and through all these body minds. To draw parallels from the dream example, in a dream it feels like all the other people have consciousness in them. But after waking, I realize that there was no consciousness shining in any of them. There was only one person in that dream where consciousness was shining. How do I know that the waking world is not like that? How do I know that Chit is shining in all beings? And if I can't know that for sure, how can I rule out a theory like Eka Jiva Vada?
Okay, I'm terrible with the Chit, Sat. I'm not exactly sure what those means. I know they've been said a few times, but not enough for me to remember. I have terrible memory. But again, I do remember ideas and discussions, generally speaking. But it's very interesting. There is, I guess, that's a very interesting way to look at the dream example. The dream example is very perfect for me, for the most part. That the fact that there is not consciousness in those beings, but it kinda... Because you're only ever conscious of yourself in your dreams, typically, where you only know what you're doing, you're conscious of your doing, you're knowing what you're thinking, but you have no idea what anyone else is doing or thinking. So does that mean that they have consciousness, or are they just reacting as an animalistic nature, as in they are not necessarily conscious per se of their being, of their thoughts or anything, but just reactive of the environment around them? You know, what is it? It's kind of like, how do I say? There are animals out there where they lose their limbs and stuff, but they can still act upon reactions. I think a lot of lizard tails, they tend to detach to kind of confuse their predators. So whenever the predator attaches their tail, the tail will detach and start twitching and stuff, reacting in a sense. And then when you have I believe I remember seeing on YouTube where there's frog legs, if you put salt, it'll start reacting. Again, it's not reacting in terms of a conscious term. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm more talking reacting to stimuli. So again, I guess it's a little bit more difficult to say. Like when you talk to something, there's nothing in the world that would be stimulated by a voice. Whereas a frog's legs, if you put salt or something in it, it'll start kicking. Or the tail of a lizard, whenever it tries to escape its prey, it reacts to it. I guess a little bit of whatever juice gets into the tail and starts twitching enough to let the lizard get away. But in terms of the dream, it's kind of like that, but it doesn't have to be assault or a predator, but just reactive to things going on. There's no consciousness, but it's a lot of reactive stuff. So it's an interesting way to look at it. I never thought about the dream in that sense because I've always, I guess I've kind of always thought of it as in everything is consciousness in that dream. And mind you, everything is consciousness limited to what you are aware of because you don't know if there's anything outside the boundaries of what you are able to witness or experience in your own dream. And I guess if it's, it's very interesting to hmm it's very interesting to think how in your even in your own mind you don't know what they're thinking. You know, your mind is creating all this, but you don't know what they're thinking and why they answer a certain way. Man, I really want to kind of think about this a little bit instead of just trying to think on the spot. I will say this though, and even in my own dream, I think at one of the dreams I was not in my own body. I was in someone else's body, kind of controlling it. Because when I looked down, it didn't look like my body. Next was I was able to kind of know what people were kind of going to say in my dream because I kind of have this. You understand people like, oh, if I ask this person this question, I know he's going to say no because I know who he is, I know his character and such. So I kind of had that too. But anyways, let's go ahead and continue.
All right, big question. And it was very sophisticated, lots and lots of philosophy went into that. But I'll just latch on to one thing there and listen carefully. This is the answer to the question, the direct answer. But then we will dilate a little more afterwards. But here's the direct answer. In the example which was just quoted, the dream example, which is very helpful for understanding Advaita Vedanta. The person who's asking said that in the dream example, it seems I see many people and they all seem to have consciousness, but when I wake up, I see that there was only one person there with consciousness. That is, he means I, the dreamer. I was there in the dream. I was conscious. But all those other people, they just appeared in my dream. They were not actually persons with consciousness. He said that. There's only one person. Did he not say that? That line is there. There's only one person. But here, there isn't. There is no one person in that dream. You feel that because you wake up and you realize, oh, I was dreaming. But even when the dream was going on and you felt that you were there in that one person, was that really a person? No, because there was no body there. It was a figment of your imagination. It was a dream. And there were bits and pieces of thoughts excavated from your waking mind floating around as the impressions which generated that world of dreams and that so-called person who was experiencing that dream, in the dream. Actually, what was there in a dream is the dreamer's mind. You, the dreamer, lying on the bed and dreaming, in your mind all this was going on. Just as you imagined the world there, the objective world in the dream, the subject in the dream was also dreamt up. So you, the person, the dreamer, you were not actually there as that person in the dream. It's not that there was one person in the dream with consciousness and nobody else was with consciousness. See, that's what happens when you wake up and you mix up the waking and the dreaming a little bit. Right? And that's helpful for understanding Advaita Vedanta. That's what's going on here. There is one consciousness. The Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, which Patrick was chanting, one limitless consciousness. That alone appears as nature and as the soul. Swami Vivekananda's language. As Prakriti and Purusha. That alone appears as subject and object. In that one consciousness, the objective world appears. And in that one consciousness, the subject who experiences this objective world appears. And you feel, I am the subject and here is the world. But actually underlying both is one limitless consciousness. So that's the example helps, the dream example. If you correct this a little bit, you will get an answer to your question. But let's go. The question itself is pretty deep. Sarva bhuteshu chatmanam, sarva bhutani chatmani. This is the line he was quoting. Not only in Ashtavakra, it's found in the Upanishads, it's found in the Bhagavad Gita. All beings in the self and the self in all beings. And he says, I can sort of understand how all beings are in the self. You know, you can think of the self as limitless existence. And obviously all beings are in limitless existence. Why would you say obviously? Do all beings exist? Obviously. Otherwise you wouldn't even speak of them. There man is, woman is, chair is, plant is, dog is, sky is. All living and non-living beings you see is existence. So think of this isness as a limitless ocean of existence, in which all beings are like waves. Ashtavakra sings, Mai ananta mahambodau ashcharyam jiva vichaya. I am a limitless ocean of existence. I means all of us can claim that. There's a limitless ocean of existence. And in that, how strange, how wonderful are the sentient beings who come up as waves. What do they do once they have come up? Udyanti, gnanti, khelanti, pravishanti swabhavata. They come up, they are born. And what do? Khelanti, play. Gnanti, fight. Then, pravishanti, they disappear, they die. I remember this verse particularly because I have a very clear memory of being in Gangotri with a radical non-dualist Swami studying Ashtavakra Gita, and he's teaching this in Hindi at that time. But I remember how he was teaching it. It was so vivid. There is the Ganga Bhagirathi rushing by several hundred feet below. This towering, the real giants there. They have, 15, 20,000 feet all around. And the valley where we are sitting, that's a valley, but the valley itself is 10,000 feet in the Himalayas. And that's stunning, spectacular scenery. The Swami was explaining this verse, I remember, and he says, the way he explained it, Udyanti, they're born, Kelanti, and I still remember, he was a jolly old Swami in his 80s, and hugely obese, more of that little later, hugely obese, and he was saying, they're born, Udyanti, Kelanti, he's saying, I love you, Nanti, I'm going to divorce you. They fight. Ukraine war nowadays, you see, they fight. And then what is the result of all of that? Pravishanti, they disappear back into the source, they die. But why? Why are they born? Why do they love and play? Why do they fight and hate each other? And why do they die again? Swabhavata. By their very nature. What is that very nature? The causality. Cause and effect. The karma. Past karma is upon them. It produces these bodies and drives these sentient beings through a certain course of life. There are the causes. You really can't blame anybody. They are all propelled by a certain set of causes behind them. Notice how each one of us, no matter what we are, how awful we are in the eyes of others, we feel pretty self-justified. Because of these reasons I am doing this. The other person is doing that as a very awful person. Why are they doing it? But you are doing the exactly same thing. But there's a reason for why I am doing it. But the other person also feels they have reason. And they are right and you are right also. There are reasons. And those reasons are causality. The whole of Advaita Vedanta wants to say that this causality is a dream. It's an appearance. Underlying it is one infinite, limitless ocean of existence. Well, good for the ocean of existence, but I am in trouble. No, you are that ocean of existence. Now, about Eka Jiva Vada, which he raised. Before I forget, the obesity of the Swami. The Swami is passed now. He passed away a few years ago. He was the most amazing teacher. So, and very funny too. So he was sick, obviously, being so overweight, and the doctor came to see him. And the doctor said, I'll tell you in Hindi and then translate into English. आप क्या खाते हैं स्वामी जी इतने मोटे हो गए हैं? What do you eat, Swami? You've become so fat, so overweight. And the doctor was thin and sickly. So the Swami said, he chuckled and he said in Hindi that हम चिंता को चबा जाते हैं, इसीलिए मोटापन है, और चिंता तुम्हें चबा जाती है डॉक्टर बाबू. So चिंता is anxiety, tension, stress. So I eat it up, I gobble it up, and because of all that junk food I've become. But I chew it up, I gobble up stress and fear and anxiety. And stress and fear and anxiety, they gobble you up, doctor. You're being burned out by your worries and stress. He was like that. All right, back to philosophy. Eka Jiva Vada. The view that there is only one person. Now, straight off, those who are trained in philosophy will say, aha, solipsism. Solipsism means the feeling, the idea that only I exist. Why would that come? What a crazy idea. Well, it come because actually of our dream experiences, where we see a lot of people, but when we wake up, I feel I was the only one there. Everybody else was in my dream. How do we know that this is not so in the waking also? And especially when we study Advaita Vedanta, the margins, the boundaries between dream and waking become blurred. On purpose, they are blurred. And so we might feel, in this world also it's like a dream. Vedanta keeps telling me it's like a dream, an illusion. So I am the only one there. And all these other people, there's no audience. I'm just fooling myself with Ask Swami. So it's I alone who am asking the questions and I alone trying to answer the questions. So I might be the only one here. Eka Jiva. And yet I am not enlightened. So I am not the absolute reality Brahman. I am a sentient being.
So here's the interesting thing. He said that I'm not enlightened. But technically, we are all enlightened, are we not? We're just ignorant of that fact. I'm trying to think if... I'm sure Swami here has said that. We are ignorant of the fact that we are Brahman, Atman. So Brahman and Atman is enlightened. Or perhaps the definition of enlightenment is when you realize that you're Brahman and Atman. As though they're duality. That you are Brahman, Atman. But do you have to realize that to be enlightened, though? Perhaps maybe that is the definition of enlightenment, is the realization that you are that. But do you have to realize it? So this is something that I thought about, that I wanted to do a video on. Now again, this is going to be would be, if I ever do it, it'd be in the members only because this is not going to be a reaction. The members only video is not going to be reactions. It's going to be more like just my thoughts on the things that I reacted to, and more than likely everything I do in the members only is going to be spilled out into the different reaction videos, because I discuss everything anyway. This would be one of them. Like, do we really need to realize it? You know, that would be the question.
How many sentient beings, how many jivas are there? One. Although I can see 100, I say there's only one. Who? I. Now this is actually a view, a school of thought in Advaita Vedanta. And what would be the goal of this thing? That I am there and still I don't feel enlightened, and I'm still suffering, and I still feel that others might be part of a dream that I'm dreaming. So I have to wake up from the dream and realize that Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. From that perspective, no more problems. So that single individual being, sentient being, has to break out of that one being's dream and awaken to reality, which is infinite existence. So that is a school of thought. It's a sub-school. There's a good reason why it's a sub-school. Because if you look at the mainstream non-duality, Advaita Vedanta, Shankar Upanishads, Gita, they don't speak in that way. They speak exactly the way we speak. There is a world, there are people, and we are one of many, and we are all trying to become enlightened. Good. This is how we feel more or less about the world. And this is how the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, they talk, all the texts of Vedanta, most of them, not all, but most of them talk in this way. So what's going on here? What's going on is...
Real quick, that's actually the way I even knowing that everything is consciousness, I still like to look at it in the perspective that even if that is the case, again, something I want to do in a channel, which would involve what I was just talking about a little bit earlier, that I would still like to look at the world as it is, as we see it in Maya. Just because people in this lifetime may not become enlightened, but if we can help them view the world a little bit differently and view themselves more in particular a little bit differently, I think we could at least reduce some of the suffering, make the world a little bit a better place. Which is kind of what he's doing. Like he said, like he said specifically, where they teach along the lines of the way we see the world, as in we're all individual beings trying to be enlightened.
None of them are right. Bahujivavada, many sentient beings. Ekajivavada, one sentient being. None of them are supposed to be descriptions of truth. What is the truth then? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. Advaitins will say, how many times do I have to tell you? There's only one reality. One existence, consciousness, bliss. Then what about all this? Many living beings, one living being, many sentient beings, one sentient being. It's because we see the world in that way. And we have to be helped out of it. If Advaita Vedanta is right, then there's one ultimate reality, and this is a relative reality. Then in this relative reality, Vedanta has to begin here. Any good teacher has to start where the student is, and then take the student to what is, from the near to the far, from what is to what shall be, from the known to the unknown. That's the principle of good teaching. You think there is a world? Of course, good, there is a world. That's what Vedanta says. Doesn't mean it at all. Let's say there's a world, granting you that. You think there are lots of other people? Yes, at least the teacher and I, at least two of us are there. Good, let's start there. So that's how most Vedanta operates. But there's this school which does not operate that way. So these are ways of becoming enlightened. Who can take which way? So it's very clear among the monks in the Himalayas that it depends on vairagya, dispassion, detachment from the world. If you are a completely detached monk, there's no two ways of putting it. You have to be a monk completely detached from the world, not even like me sitting in Manhattan in an ashram. You have to be completely detached from the world. Then that kind of paradigm, it's a paradigm, that there is only one sentient being in this universe and it's you. That will work. Won't it lead to narcissism and all? But it won't, because you're not supposed to stop there. You're supposed to begin there and go into the impersonal absolute. Why at all then these views have come up? Because there is a logical force behind these views. That's why this person has come up with this question. Because think deeply about Advaita, and especially the difference between waking and dreaming is not sharp, then you will come to this feeling that maybe I'm the only one here. But that's just the beginning point. And it will work for you if you are detached, if you are monastic, if you have strong renunciation, no connections with the world. Is it possible to have such a life? Yes, it's possible in the mountains. I have experienced it myself. You could easily, I remember I was just there for a few months each time. And I remember the world seems to melt away and disappear there in those Himalayan fastness, in the heights there. It just fades away into a mist, a distant mist. So it's possible. But if you try to do it in an inappropriate setting, like this, you have a job, you have a family, you're in a network of relationships. If you try to do this here, it will become dysfunctional. And it will lead to so much trouble, your spiritual life will be wrecked. Your worldly life also will be in trouble, and your spiritual life will be wrecked. It's not meant to be used in that way. And remember, there's no need. People think it's cool, Ekajivavada. They feel it's uh, more sophisticated than the non-dualism which is taught. That's what the Swami normally says. This is more sophisticated than that. Don't do it, because you will not get a better Brahman, a better ultimate reality by following Eka Jivavada. Brahman plus, Brahman advanced, Brahman for the really, really cool non-dualists. No, you will come to the same reality.
Oh, I thought there was going to be more. So very interesting. He talks about the different ways of becoming enlightened. The different ways of, well, he didn't talk a lot of different ways, but he talks about the two particular ways where one is just to be completely disconnected from the world, essentially. And then, I guess the method that he's trying to teach in his ashram, and I believe in New Jersey or New York. I think Swami Taramananda is New Jersey, and he's in New York. Yes. So, again, and the thing that I also wanted to add on top of all of that I just said about the thing I want to discuss is about none of it's needed at all. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to leave a whole bunch of like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Brian? You need more than just that. Like cliffhangers and clickbaity sounds and stuff. But I mean, if you know, you know, and if you don't, obviously you'll need a little bit more of understanding. I want to do it so bad because I think it makes it a little bit more of a personalized video, and hopefully people who are there will. Well, one, you're taking it seriously already, and two, hopefully I'll be able to be a little bit better in terms of the comments. Because again, I get a lot of replies, and I do try to read as much as comments as possible. But again, I barely ever get a chance to reply back. I know someone wants me to do more sim videos, but again, if you look at my pattern, there is a pattern to my videos, and I rotate through all the people that I react to. Anyways. I think this talks about the egg video that I watch also. And this also kind of goes up with the concept of about, I think scientists saying that if we live in a program, like a computer program, it'd be very difficult to prove that we're not just programs in this thing. You know, this could be a literal simulation for a world that an alien beings were just like, well, this one didn't do so well, so we'll scratch this off. And then what if we plant it this way? What if we plant human beings on Earth this way? And that's what this test is right now. It's going to go like a couple of million of years, 100 millions of years, just to see if it works out great. If it does, they'll plant the seeds on Earth this way. If not, they'll scratch it off and wipe out the universe and start another one. Maybe it'll take, is it 88 tries according to Sadhguru? I can't remember. And we're in the 33rd one? No, we're in the like 16th one, I believe, or something. You know how there's a cyclical. No, I think it said 123. I can't remember. It's been a little bit. Where Sadhguru said that this. Well, he didn't say this. I believe he didn't say this, but how I interpreted what he said is that this universe has already destroyed itself and recreated itself about 13 times, and there's a number that he told the scientists to remember, which I think is either 88 or a number above 100, which is probably the number of times the universe. Well, actually, I think he told them to remember the 14 or something like that, where the number of times this universe has been created, and the fact that this universe will be created a number of more times, like 88 or 100 and something more times, or 100 times, and that it will be completely dissolved anymore. It will not be reincarnated anymore, in a sense. Well, anyways, I kind of went on a little bit about that. So the thing, I guess, this kind of goes into what I kind of want to talk about. And it's very interesting again about the dream example, and about the monk in the Himalayas where he renounced everything. He didn't really go very much in terms of what he was teaching, because obviously that's not that is the subject matter that he teaches all the time. So clearly what he's teaching, and then the other one, which is just the renunciation of the world itself in a sense. And essentially my thoughts in that when I was thinking about what to talk about, how to formulate my thoughts on the matter. Well, anyways, I don't know if I'll ever do it. I still gotta write it down. I need to stop procrastinating, procrastinating, and actually do it. But anyways, that's my reaction to the concept of all beings in the self and the self in all beings. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sound down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.